I'm damned if I know why. And I'm to bring it as it is, tied up and everything. I give you my word, Lou, that house is like a madhouse. She won't open her door until she knows who is outside, and I've had Dr. Armstrong there twice, but she won't let him in. As for getting her to see that poor old chap in the hospital, after all he's my father. I've told them to give him the best there is. Then you don't believe? Believe? Don't be a fool, Lou. As far as I can make out, he was living the life he liked. He had his books, and he had work to do. And he added, I wish I'd known who he was, Lou. Imagine me passing him day after day, and giving him a nod when I felt like it. Well, where's the album? I had to tell him then that we could not find the album, and he looked rather dismayed. More hell, he said as he got up. Let me know when it turns up, will you? There's a picture of him in it, and she wants it. God knows why. I remember watching him as he cut across the common to his house, and wondering whether I should have told him the truth, that the police had taken the album for some mysterious purpose of their own. But I am glad now that I did not. Chapter 46. That night stands out in my mind as one of gradually accumulating horror. It started with confusion, for at a dinner that evening served by a neat but sullen house parlor maid, mother suddenly determined to go to Aunt Caroline's. You and Mary, she told Annie, can stay for the night or go. As you are deserting me after all these years, I feel that I am quite right in abandoning you. Annie then retired in tears, and then followed a period of hectic packing. When mother travels, even if it be only the equivalent of 30 city blocks, she travels, and I spent a wild hour or two collecting the small pillows, the slumber robes and bed jackets, and even the framed photograph of my father which always accompanied her. Both maids were ready before we were, and I remember the bumping noise of their trunks as they were taken downstairs, and my own sense of loss as I paid them off and saw them go. To all this was added the hottest night of the summer, with a heavy storm threatening and the incessant roll of distant thunder, and when at 9 o'clock the doorbell rang, I was distinctly nervous as I went downstairs. I turned on the porch light before I opened the door, but it proved to be Herbert Dean and I let him in. Getting out? He said when I told him. Well, that's sensible, darling. I'll be a lot easier in my mind. But if you've got the killer, as the papers say. We're not entirely through yet, he said evasively. The main thing just now is to keep you safe at least until, well, until somewhere around the end of September. What is to happen the end of September? I asked him in an unguarded moment. Haven't I told you? He asked, in surprise. Our wedding, of course. Naturally I have been pretty busy, but it does seem odd that I should have told Helen and forgotten to tell you. I hope Helen declined, for me. Declined? Great Scott, no. She leapt at it. She says she will never be happy until you are out of Jim's way. Incredible, all of that, in view of what happened later that night, and as I have said, this is not a love story. Nor is it. But in that fashion was I wooed and won that same evening, although Herbert today maintains that he proposed to me in an entirely conventional fashion, and that I lowered my eyes modestly and whispered a yes. That, as I happen to know, occurred the next day, and of all places in the world in the hospital on Liberty Avenue where a half-conscious John Talbot in another room was talking garrulously to a police dictograph, and a stenographer behind a screen was also taking notes. The first step in the sequence of that night was when I told Herbert that two people had wanted the album. It had almost an electrical effect on him, and he made me recite the conversations as completely as I could remember them. He was almost boyishly excited when I had finished. We're close to the end, Lou, he said triumphantly. And thank heaven for a girl like you who doesn't talk. You're going to talk now, however. He looked at his watch. See here, he said, give me 30 minutes, will you? I'll be back by that time, and then I'll want you to do some telephoning. Can you hold Mother half an hour? I thought I could, and he left, driving off at his usual rocket-like speed.